Can I get to approve the agenda? Gord? Deb? I'm thinking like, oh my God.
I know I've seen her somewhere, but
Oh, just like, I haven't had enough coffee. All in favor? Okay, that passes. All right, adoption of the minutes. We might take a look at those minutes and can we have a mover? John? Gord? All in favor? Okay, perfect. All right, business arising, new business, official community plan, verbal update. Who is taking that? All right,
Hey.
get away, Nicole.
Hey, thanks, through the chair. So yeah, we thought we would give an update on the progress with the OCP review before we kick it into high gear with council and the community. So we've received, and super exciting, the draft communications and engagement plan from Urban Systems. That outlines our activities for the year and just really how we're going to take a look at the OCP. As of yesterday, and I'm hoping June, you can just kick over to our new and exciting webpage for the OCP update, thanks to Campton and Urban Systems. So this was just posted yesterday. Thanks, June. Wait a second. I think you were on it. Maybe in the gap, I'll just say that we're looking to have like a banner or something just to make it a little bit more prominent on our front page of the website. So this was posted yesterday. We have some draft social media posts from Urban Systems and a proposed schedule for all of that, e-newsletter content. So we're just really kind of going to start rolling out our communications and engagement plan. In June, if you scroll on down, just want to talk about, how will the OCP updated? So right now we're in phase 1, which is going to be project kickoff and some upcoming presentations for May 28th that we want to bring your attention to. So Urban Systems is going to present to the committee of the whole, it'll be next week on the 28th. And they'll provide a general overview of the OCP, why we're doing the update, the requirements from the province. And we'll have a review of the OCP project and the objectives, the work plan, what we hope to achieve. And then some of their key findings from the technical background review, and they're working on that right now. So they'll have some draft findings from that. And then it'll be an opportunity for the committee to express their perspectives on growth needs and priorities for the community. So that's a kickoff for the committee of the whole next week. And later that day, Urban Systems is going to host our first community open house at the Red Barn. So that's May 28th, Wednesday, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So they'll do the committee of the whole first, then kick over to the Red Barn for the public. And in the public open house, they're going to talk about, formally launching the OCP review to the public. And then they'll provide an overview on what that even means and how they can participate and talk about some of the future engagement opportunities, workshops that they can participate in. Since awarding the contract, we did the kickoff meeting with Urban Systems and we gave some pretty tight timelines for our first open house because we wanted to get it out to the public before like school ended and summer started. So we've gone with May 28th, which fits best for them. Then they can do 2 stones in one for the committee of the whole and then do the public open house. So next, like I said, Urban Systems is finalizing their technical review still. We provided them with all of our previous reports, everything under the sun that we could think of. And they're going to be summarizing that in a taking stock memo that we'll have in some future discussions. There's also an OCP in a week, that's what they're calling it, engagement series. And so that's tentatively scheduled for June 16th to 18th. Those will be like our heavy workshops, I'll call them. And so more to come on that from Urban next week. And I don't know, Urban had asked for the sign-in link for today, but I don't know if they're online for any questions, but that's what we learned. And that's, I guess, our plan going forward. We'll hear more from Urban Systems next week.
Questions?
good for them. I'm just looking at the timeline. If we can do it, that'd be good, way better than what we did.
All of us not there. Now you're-
Yes, that's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead, Gordon.
Oh, I forgot, what date was that, June one?
Okay, yeah, through the chair. So we have, it's tentative, but we call it the OCP in a week for, just get the date.
June 16th.
Yeah, June 16th to 18th. So multiple days. Yeah.
They've kind of described it as a sort of series of workshops to work your way through the whole OCD because it is such a heavy document.
Mhm.
Instead of trying to cover it all in one workshop, they kind of break it into groups. And then you can attend any of the groups or all the groups and walk through the whole document as far as what's being looked at.
So this is, just to give a little bit of a background here, this is because the province is requiring us to update our OCP because of the legislative changes that they made. And we've had some discussion here at the committee before. This is supposed to be bringing us up to compliance, I guess we're still going for and correct me if I'm wrong, a moderate to slight review of the OCP, not a full redone. Correct?
The key was to address the legislation changes, so we
Yeah.
got some funding to do that. We also saw in that the opportunity to do some, what we would call housekeeping components that to clean up. And we're looking at introducing some things like the riparian component. So this is giving us a funding opportunity to actually do it without having to fund it ourselves. So we don't want to miss the opportunity that we have to do this piece. Why not bring in some other pieces to help us? But the idea is not a wholesale land use change. It's more of a update, adding some things that we feel may be missing and provide the legislation requirements that must be met for our funding.
And this is how we'll be able to hit our fall target as well, right? Okay.
That allows for the shortened timelines. If we're looking at land use changes, that really requires more extensive consultation, more extensive study on what the impacts will be, how that's going to change growth, but that's not what's being proposed.
Deb?
Just a quick question. So, June 16th to 18th. So, the 18th is our next planning and development committee meeting. So is the assumption that that will be part of, that'll be replaced with what's going on here? Or I just, honestly, I'm already getting booked up, so.
I think that this committee would normally be dealing with business of the city. So if we got applications, that's what
We'd still do it.
focused on. And then you can choose to participate in OCP in a week if you wish. Like I said, it's kind of comprehensive for the whole OCP.
Yeah.
So there may be components you wish to participate in, but I don't think the committee's going to participate in the whole process. It's pretty extensive.
Okay. When, so in terms of having a, what's being covered when that week, when will we hear more about that? Because I would like to participate a bit. I just need to try and squeeze.
After next week's meeting, we'll see more communication begin to come up, and they'll work with Campton to promote that in the community so people are more aware of what next events will be. We kind of don't want to move too far beyond what's happening next. So when you're starting to talk about June, when you have a May 28th meeting,
Yeah,
it takes the attention away from that slogan. Their communication strategy will focus on the next event. And then once that's over, they'll begin to focus on the next one. They don't want to lose track of the momentum for next Wednesday.
But I think as this goes along, as we get further into it and the consultations are done, that this will come back to committee for some discussion and review and then on to council. Is that kind of what I'm?
There's a series of interim reporting that's within the contract where they'll come back to the committee and come back to council with updates on where they're at, what they heard. So we'll see summaries as to what the consultations told them. That'll come back to the committee and to council.
And what I would suggest is as we get further into this process, 75, 85%, that we do have a meeting here, but that we also make sure we invite the other councillors to come and maybe even the public when we're getting down to that, because it'd be a nice opportunity here. We could workshop it a little bit easier than maybe sometimes at committee of the whole. Doesn't really matter to me where, but we're allowed to, any counselor is allowed to participate in this forum as well. So and we're pretty collaborative here. So it's not that this forum doesn't allow people to have a chance to interact pretty freely.
And there's some pieces that are going to come through that I think are going to be directly relevant for the committee to review. The riparian piece, when we bring in the environmental regulations, We're gonna get provincial approval on those. We have a series of criteria we have to meet, and we've already met those as far as preparing the draft. So we'll bring that forward in the committee. That will allow for our riparian DPs to be incorporated into our normal DPs and not have to go through a provincial approval process. We have an equivalent to provincial approval. We get endorsement of that through the OCP, and then we don't have to apply through the province for those DPs.
Okay.
It can be done through a regular DP process at the district. And other communities, Kelowna, the regional district, and the central Okanagan already have that in place. So we'd be another community that has it in place. The provincial program is there to do it. So we're spearheading that piece, a little bit independent of urban systems, just because of my experience with it in the central Okanagan. So I'm going to kind of help with that piece. Well, that is a specific component that will come to the committee in the workshop, what we're proposing and how to work with the committee before we go to council.
Really good. Yeah, go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, Dean, at what point does it go out for a referral, like to highways and, First Nations?
There's a formal process for an OCP update that we have to do formal referrals, but essentially this is the creation of the changes or the additions. And then once those additions and changes have been outlined, that's where the referral will go out to the agencies, the ALC, Ministry of Highways, Ministry of FLNRO will all have to receive referrals. And they all have to have their comments in before the OCP gets adopted. So at this point, we're just developing what's gonna be changed. And then once all the changes are decided and that preliminary review has been done by council and we're moving forward with the bylaw, that's when we begin that formal referral. We'll of course reach out and ask for input on certain components. The actual formal referral process doesn't begin until we know exactly what we're changing.
Thanks.
Any further? This is gonna be a very quick meeting then.
Do we have any updates on our update chart or?
Well, I could add that now to the agenda since
Sorry, I just-
sharing, sure.
It's kind of different every time.
But staff on the spot here, I guess what you're asking is any updates on the developments that are coming through.
Yep, through the chair. The only active application that we had is the TUP for Main Street, which I think Dean has had conversations with the owner or the applicant, and we've had conversations, and right now it's in their hands. I'm not sure if they're gonna carry it forward or change their plans, but that's the update.
I did see the fence on Main Street and a piece of equipment behind it.
Oh, I think you're talking about Temple Street?
Yes, no, not Temple Street, that 425. So does that mean
Oh.
we're proceeding? Because we haven't, as a
Maybe,
committee, had any updates on that.
Maybe that would
so-
be useful to give people an update because that was a long time ago that.
Yeah,
With that, but there's been updates there.
I know a lot of it was in camera, but I'm assuming now.
No, it's all public, but
Okay.
you're right. There was a lag time between when council approved it and all of that went through and then. But I'll let Dean explain where that's at. It's good news.
Good.
There was a time frame where they had to begin construction and get their building permit issued. And that was the end of April. And they did get their building permit, picked up their building permit and began excavation, which is the work you see, for the project as approved by council. So that project has begun, the building permit has been issued. So there's 24 months between the start for them to complete. And they've begun work. You'll see that they have a site trailer out there. They have some equipment doing some work. They're just doing the scarifying for the foundation. They've surveyed where the foundation will be placed. And so what you're seeing there is just the initial outline of the foundation component. I haven't seen forms begin, but we'll probably see that in the next week or so.
I was just really excited to see the fence.
Yes.
So,
Well, and maybe we can just say, since we have a couple of minutes, because I have been getting questions, but a lot of the there is a lot of activity going around Sycamoose right now, and these projects were approved. And so I don't know if you want to take just, a hot minute here to explain some of the projects that are moving forward right now. It's quite obvious around town, or, just to explain where we're at, because a lot of those projects were approved, but they did kind of hang for a little while as the developers kind of got up to speed.
I'm just making a little list
Yeah,
on the top of.
because it is quite a few, actually.
Okay, through the chair. So maybe I'll start with 1002 Seed Frontage Road. Because you're right, it did go through the committee and then it went to council for approval. DPs don't think there was any variances on there. And just recently, building permits have been issued for what that was in 2C frontage. So, if you remember, it was commercial on the bottom. There is an opportunity for a residence on top. And so the first 2 buildings have been issued, and that's kind of closer to the north end of the property there. So yes, I haven't been out there yet, but I understand they're out there. Okay, then we have 222 Temple. So that was 74 units. I think they're still working on the building permits, and this is going to be a strata. So they're working on their disclosure statements, and we're close to issuing the building permits. There's a few things that they had to consider before that can be done, but we're actively working with the owner almost every day on that one. So I believe they've applied for 8 buildings, and they expect all 8 to be issued.
Great.
Okay, what else do I have on my list? You already talked about 425.
Fine, yeah.
Yep, then of course, behind 425, we have 316 Gordon Munro Lane. And I think our building official just did an inspection on maybe the 3rd and 4th floor. So they're actively constructing and should hit their target goal, which is great. Is there another one off the top of your head that you can build?
That was the main chunk of it. Is there something come to mind, Gord?
Gosh, you said, temporary use permit for Main Street. Is that the same person that did the other develop or?
No, it was the one the committee dealt with
Oh, okay.
a month ago, yeah.
I've heard from the property owner. So they wish to proceed within the next year and a half with actually construction on the site. They're wrapping up their development in Armstrong, so they're moving a little bit faster than they expected. So we should be hearing from them in the next few months as to what they want to do with that site.
And then one other one, Nicole, and maybe you haven't heard anything, the old Petrocan, or they were, A&W was gonna build a new building and planning. Haven't heard from them.
Through the chair, they did, yeah, I know that's a pretty old file, 2021. I haven't called the owner lately, but last I heard, they're still interested in doing that. They have to work through the environmental contamination process. They had another project down south that they were working on first, and then they were gonna come back. I mean, the setup that they have now was working, so that's why this one went on the back burner for a bit. They still have plans for that.
Oh, one other one I just thought about is the 9 or 14 lots out of Tuma, that all, I noticed that all got paved up.
Yes.
Yeah, through the chair, yes, that's another one. So that subdivision was approved earlier this year or maybe late last year. And now they're committing to the rest of the construction. So we hold an ILOC for the paving and just the final completion of all the public roads through there. So they've done the frontage road and then the new road that services all of those lots. So yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, there's quite a bit going on. Yeah.
Yeah, Dean, did you talk to the owner about the parking? He wanted to put some parking out there to try to stop the people from parking on the highway.
Yeah, we didn't talk too much about parking on the highway. We talked about the end of the cul-de-sac and no post barriers. So he's going back to work with his engineer. He doesn't know if a swing gate or no post is better for him. So talk to your engineer. We're open to either one. But you're gonna have to have some way to block vehicles from driving down onto the beach.
Yeah, I'll just.
At the end of his roadway, there's an open in the grading, the way it worked out, it's not obstructed.
Yeah.
We gotta be able to get vehicles down there if we need to, but he's gonna look at no post barriers or a swing gate, one of the two.
Yeah, just let you know that the cul-de-sac is right here, and they're gonna allow for some parking in here. And I think there was a few parking spots over here, but in here, they're gonna put some no posts in here so people can drive down here. Cause right now, they're all parking on the highway, which is really dangerous. Like if there's just no need there, opening doors and footers, you know, the umbrellas out, and highway cars are going by really quick. So somehow highways has gotta stop them from parking. They're parking right here, walking in. You know, they can park up here and walk down. It's pretty scary. Yeah, that's good.
I think that's something that's probably multiple years in the making there. So Dan, go ahead.
On the parking front, I saw all of the great notifications on, what's been done, a medical center and everything. So is that done now? Like, as far as what are you, like, there's more to come for parking or?
There's a parking plan that was endorsed by council a couple of months ago. That
Okay.
Daryl Sumac out of our operations team. They worked hard on creating a number of parking locations to replace the parking we had.
Yeah,
So you'll see some of those parking lots have now been completed. There's a bit more work to go on the beach park side of but right now all the downtown pieces are finished. We have a bit of fencing to do down at one of our parking lots, and I think that's being done today. But all the signage is up, all the grading is finished, and they're ready for people to park.
perfect.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to staff about that. That was quick order. You did a great job. We were facing a critical shortage of parking, and council and staff, I think, worked very well on that project, but really led by staff identifying areas where we can get a lot more parking, because if we didn't have that this year, we didn't move fast, we would have had a critical shortage of parking because of all of the construction that's going on with the bridge. And yeah, so kudos to staff for making that happen and making that happen quickly. I think we're set up well for the summer to replace a good chunk, if not all, of the parking that we lost. Not quite all, but pretty close. Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
So with sorry, I can't keep my numbers straight, the old mountain park. Now I know that is not building permit, development permit issues, but they have left kind of a mess there. Is there anything that we are doing in terms of?
Yeah, maybe. So I don't want to get too far off into my expanded impromptu agenda here, but yeah, that's before the receivers, and there's going to be court actions and other things. But the one thing that the district can do, if there's unsightly premises and there's issues around that, then we can address those through our normal bylaw mechanisms. But go ahead.
A little update on that because we met with the receiver last week.
Okay.
Receiver has been assigned, and that's a critical aspect of that situation is once the receiver is assigned, you now have a person that you can reach out to. We had a good meeting and a good conversation about what needs to happen immediately. So one was to get rid of that blue bin. So they've committed to get rid of the blue bin. We've also given some insight on who might be interested in taking over the project. So they begin the process of actually looking for a new developer to buy the project from the receiver or through the foreclosure. So all that's in motion now. The old developer and the manager have removed a lot of material from the site. Some of it useful. I think they've taken most of the useful material. I did notice the excavator disappeared one night. The receiver wasn't aware that the excavator disappeared. The excavator disappeared.
There was a few things.
And a lot of materials have gone now, so there's not as much was there before. And some stuff is not looking as bad. So somebody's making an effort to kind of clean it up. I noticed the inside of the store has been almost completely cleaned out. So they had all their product in there up until about a week ago. And all of that is almost all gone now. So there is somebody working. I just don't know when, and I don't really know who. And it's not through the receiver, but the receiver has made some commitments to the exterior, which is important to us.
Yeah, so just, like to me, as somebody driving by, it looks like it's an active business, kind of a messy active business. But is there anything, I'm assuming they want it to be an active business again as soon as possible. But it's kind of a weird thing to have in the middle of your town where people are going, like you see them driving through it. So I don't know if there's a way to have some kind of sign. I don't know what
We did have the gas signage was still on.
Yeah.
Of course, it was showing like a very old price, which was very low.
yeah.
You'd constantly see people see the
Yeah.
price and be all excited and get off the highway to go to gas.
Ooh.
We did get, Petro Canada actually corporately sent somebody out to turn off all the lights.
Oh, okay.
So the signage lights weren't on it. It didn't look like they were advertising really cheap gas. So that was a good sort of step forward. It's a bit of a messy process. We're trying to be proactive with them, but there's not a lot that we can directly do.
Yeah.
So we have to work through the receiver. We can't do anything directly on the site. The receiver actually, I was quite impressed by the response we got. I'm quite pleased to hear that they would take action on that blue dumpster and so forth, which is good. So getting that out of there will actually clean it up quite a bit. Most of the material that was on the front side, particularly in the eastern corner.
Yeah.
It's gone now. There's very little left there. So a little more cleanup and they're almost there. So it doesn't look as bad as it did even a couple of weeks ago. Getting the dumpster out would make a big difference.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe the one thing the receiver could do is just block off access into the site since there's nothing there to buy or purchase or that might help. But I agree with you. It does look better than where it was a few weeks ago. So. Okay, all right. Well, that was a little impromptu addition to the agenda, but
Regular updates.
yeah. Well, and we will, where we do get the updates are the new applications. That's kind of what this committee will be doing or has been doing. It's just, I agree with you. There was a lag and then you see action and people think, hey, did you disapprove that? Well, no, but it's now going. So, and that's certainly where the public starts paying attention is at that point, not at the point where we did a lot of these applications, which is many, many months ago. You have another?
Oh, yeah, another one came to mind.
All right.
Well, have you heard anything on the old Three Boy site, the park gate there? Nothing from those guys? I know they were
I've
all,
talked to them a couple times, but nothing.
they're all gung ho, but they kind of phased out. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on. Thanks, staff, for, I put you on the spot there a little bit, but that's great. I think that's important information to have out there and it's very exciting. A lot of these projects are going to make a very active summer, I would say, in Sycamoose and fall. Okay, so we're to public input period. Buddy online. Okay, don't see anything, so we'll move to adjournment. And we motion to adjourn. All right, Deb, John, all in favor? Done. Adjourned at 9:28. Thank you, guys.
Okay.